Coming up on show 808, 29 EVs were tested and every single one of them exceeded their reported advertised ranges. Find out the details on the show today. Plus, coming up on the podcast, BMW plug-in hybrids go even further. By 2022, we'll be overwhelmed with EV launches, they say. Tesla offer a couple of minor upgrades to the Model 3 to bring it in line with the Chinese-made one, and EV sales predicted to surge now that many showrooms are reopening. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're listening in the world. Welcome to EV News Daily, the edition for Saturday, 13th of June. My name is Martyn Lee, and I go through every EV story so you don't have to. Before we get into the news today, a really quick mention for a brand new premium partner of this here podcast. Well, this is another company that is paying the bills and the website and the audio hosting, so you get to listen every day for free. Welcome to Jim. Well, Jim and the team at nationalcarcharging.com, one of the nation's leading providers of EV charging equipment, along with consulting and station management services for things like housing, offices, commercial and residential. Whether it's wall boxes all the way up to the largest DC fast charging stations that you can imagine, well, they will supply it all. They work with companies on strategy and planning, what hardware they should get for their customers or even their employees. They look after the installation and even the ongoing management of them as well. And their sister company, I think I can call them that, Aloha Charge, bringing the best EV charging options to Hawaii and delivering top-notch service as well. Well, they partner with the likes of ChargePoint, EVBox, Efosec, and so many more as well. And yes, if you've noticed this already, you should get bonus points. This is show 808. We are now sponsored by a company in Hawaii where the dialing code is, you got there before me, 808. I love it when things line up just absolutely perfectly. The universe is definitely on our side today. So I'll pop links in the show notes to nationalcarcharging.com and alohacharge.com, and of course they get their mentions every day as a new premium partner of the show so that you get to listen to this for free. Well, BMW's current crop of plug-in hybrids manage around 31 miles, it's about 50 kilometres of pure electric driving range on a single charge on their current battery packs. And if you drive them gingerly, feathering the right foot, maybe you can get 40 miles or 65 k's out of them. But the lengths that you have to go to achieve that aren't really practical for most people, says InsideEVs, but that could soon be changing and actually doubling. According to a recent report, we could see BMW's plug-in hybrids give a minimum of 62 miles, that's 100 kilometres, in the not too distant future. Well, the website BMW Blog is quoting BMW management board member Pieter Nota as saying, "We are of course continuing to develop the drive system and we will offer 100 kilometres of electric range in the future, depending on the segment. By the end of this year, we already have a total of 12 plug-in hybrid models available, including the new MINI and the BMW X2. BMW's smaller plug-in hybrids at the moment have 12 kilowatt-hour battery packs, usable 10.4. The brand's larger plug-in models, like the X5, the X5 45e, have a bigger 24 kilowatt-hour pack. It's 21.6 usable, but still advertised, claimed electric range of 54 miles. That's not far off what this BMW manager was saying that's going to be the norm for their plug-in cars coming very soon. And that all leads into our question of the week this week, which on Sunday's show I'll read out your answers. How far a plug-in hybrid really needs to go on EV power alone. And yes, if you're thinking, wow, a BMW X5 plug-in hybrid with a 24 kilowatt-hour battery pack, yes, it is exactly the same size battery pack they're putting in plug-in hybrids in the year 2020 as the very first Nissan Leaf came with in total. I know. The march of progress, we love it. Talking about the BMW X5 plug-in, comes with more power, more than double the electric range. The full name is the 2021 BMW X5 X Drive 45e, and it is the second generation of BMW's mid-size plug-in hybrid SUV. It was unveiled earlier this week on Wednesday for the US market, and it gets double the electric range of its predecessor, but it gets more power as well, says Green Car Reports. So, like I say, EPA range is going up. Now, the EPA range will increase to 30 miles. That's up from 14, though, on the previous generation because of the bigger battery pack. Huge for a plug-in hybrid, being a 24 kilowatt hour battery pack, actually, when you think about it. Of course, it runs on both the petrol engine and the electric power, 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds, which is quick for a car as big as the X5, and 1.2 seconds quicker than the old outgoing model as well, according to BMW. Now, when you put this in electric mode, the top speed is 84 miles an hour, but frankly, in this country, that would get me in a world of pain with the police. So 84 should be good. Now, if you're listening in Germany, you like your autobahns and you want to do crazy speeds in EV power, maybe a plug-in hybrid isn't for you. But 84 miles an hour, up from 70 before, again, it's all you need. As I say this about plug-in hybrids a lot, it's probably all you need. If you do 30, 40, 50 or 60 miles on electric power over the next couple of years with a plug-in, it's all you need for most journeys, and you can pop this BMW into electric mode only and do top speeds in it as well. In hybrid mode, it will limit it to 130 miles an hour or 146 if you option some performance tyres as well. And so we're looking forward to seeing more plug-in hybrids coming with bigger batteries. I know there is a not a group of people, but there is a school of thought that says, you know, EVs have advanced so much, just get a full battery electric car. And that's where I am, but I don't want to impose my views and my values on other people. So whilst a plug-in hybrid wouldn't be for me, I don't want the maintenance of a combustion engine. I don't want to carry around an engine that won't be used most of the time. I don't want to go to petrol stations and fill up. They stink and they're expensive. And I don't want to be worried about spark plugs and cam belts and exhausts and catalytic converters and oil changes and filter changes. All of that I'm so pleased that's in my past now. But I know that for many people, they're perfect, right? They really do tick all the boxes. And so I thought I'd report on a few plugins this week leading up to our question of the week answers being read out on Sunday. So I mentioned this at the beginning of the show. Come 2022, so we're 18 months away, new car launches will nearly double, and half of them are going to be because of EVs and hybrids. In its annual Car Wars report, the Bank of America Merrill Lynch, in their analysis, is predicting a wave of new car launches from 2022 at double the rate of previous decades, with a stepped up pace continuing through the 2020s. And nearly half of those new product launches are going to be EVs and hybrids, says Autoblog. EVs and hybrids are a big driver of the total and will comprise 49% of total new model introductions over the next 4 years, split 50-50, really, about 26% being battery electric cars, about 23% being hybrids. The biggest increase in the segment is, you guessed it, crossovers. Even small cars are being jacked up with a bit more headroom and being called a crossover style, but crossover SUV style accounting for nearly half of the total of new car launches expected. Light trucks are going to be at 28%, the next biggest segment, and then the luxury sport, the mid-large and the small segments all comprising less than 10%, but it really is the story of the crossover and the SUV, really. So Bank of America Merrill Lynch have listed out the car makers who'll be launching new cars to watch. And they are in no particular order. They've listed Honda, they've listed Ford, Nissan, GM, Toyota, Fiat Chrysler. No sign of Tesla here. No sign of anyone, really, who's playing big in the electric game. No sign of Rivian on their list. No sign of Lucid on their list. No sign of any of the others that are in the US. You know, I understand it's a report probably aimed at people who are curious about whether to invest in those legacy car makers. But if you're going to do a report on EVs being launched over the next 4 or 5 years, it's funny not to see certain Tesla on the list. Got a couple of several high-profile launches coming, actually, but never mind. Moving on. We'll mention them now. Tesla has offered a couple of small upgrades. This really got hyped up on the internet, I saw over the last couple of days, as people are, wow, Tesla have really improved the Model 3. Well, I don't think they have, but it's a nice upgrade to have nonetheless. They've upgraded the Model 3 vehicles coming out of Fremont in the US, with features first introduced in the Model Y and subsequently launched in the Chinese-made Model 3. There is a new wireless phone charger and USB-C ports in the back. Like I say, the USB-C, you could probably upgrade that for a tenner, and the wireless charger, plenty of aftermarket stuff going on there. Tesla started Model Y deliveries back in March, and people were delighted to see a wireless Qi phone charger in there as standard, and the Model 3 only had an aftermarket solution. Model Y also had USB-C ports. Model 3 had USB-A. Last month, Tesla added those to the Chinese-made Model 3, and now we know it's coming to Fremont as well. Some customers, well, it has come, because customers have received their Model 3s lately and posted pictures onto the internets to say, oh look, USB-C in the back. That's lovely, very useful. And I completely agree. It's not life-changing, but it's useful. A bigger upgrade, of course, if you are looking at differences from 3 to Y, the biggest difference in my mind in terms of the engineering of those two different cars, ignore the fact that the Model Y performance is almost the same as Model 3, except it's a lot bigger and heavier, so they are actually getting more output from the motors, which would suggest they've got more headroom in the 3, because there's the same motors. Apart from that, the heat pump is the big thing in cold climates. So when they start to do things like re-engineer the Model 3 to say, oh, by the way, we'll put a heat pump in, that's going to be a mega big deal. But, you know, some USB-C ports is still always nice to report on. This is quite a big deal, though. Tesla has come out top in a new real-world range test of EVs. The Norwegian road assistance company, NAF, has completed the world's longest EV range test. 29 of Norway's most popular EVs, 29, wow, have all been tested. The actual summer range, what happens when EVs go into power-saving mode? How do they charge in the heat, says Clean Technica? Well, during testing, they ran all of these cars that were completely down to having zero power left in order to measure the actual range and consumption on typical Norwegian roads. The test was taken by ordinary drivers in regular traffic on a normal route of city and highway driving speeds between 60 and 110 kilometres an hour. Well, this summer test that they just did is a follow-up to the winter version. Each of the vehicles tested on the same day, on the same route, trying to minimise any other variables like weather. Now, the drivers were driving normally, but defensively, and using regen actively in both city driving and downhill. The winner, in terms of the car that went further than its advertised range, was the Model S. Specified range is 610 kilometres, and they got 645 out of it. In second place was the Model 3. That has an advertised range of 560, and they got 612 out of it. And the Hyundai Kona advertised range 480, and that drove for 568.4. In fact, according to this road test carried out by the NFA, isn't it? Have I got that right? Yeah, NAF, sorry, is the 29 EVs all exceeded the WLTP quoted ranges. Now, according to the website The Next Web, the Nissan Nv200, the all-electric commercial vehicle, came out on top in terms of percentage. That exceeded the advertised range, or the WLTP range, by 39% when they drove it in summer in Norway on a real-world test. If you run a business and want an electric fleet, don't rule out the Nv200. For passenger cars, the Opel Ampera E exceeded its range by 21%. The new Renault Zoe went 19% further than advertised. And the Kona went 18% further than WLTP. Have a look for yourself at the best and worst performers. I'll pop links in the show notes if you want to find out more. Well, Google Trends data is always interesting to look at, and Google Trends data is showing that since the launch of the COVID-19 recovery strategy, at least in this country, there's been a significant boom in demand across the automotive industry, so much so demand is now pretty much parallel with the numbers pre-lockdown, and the surge in demand of wanting to buy a car after, at least in this country, several weeks of being locked inside our house, of being allowed to go out for 1 hour a day for the state-allowed exercise on your own, or at least with somebody from your household. Pent-up demand. And I'm kind of relieved about this, because I did put my neck on the line and say that whilst there may be some economic troubles coming, I didn't see this as a typical recession behaviour. So we all got told to stay at home, and I've mentioned a couple of times over the last few weeks, I believed that when it was over, we would very quickly get back to normal. That V shape that people talk about in the graph, because people want to buy cars, they've got the money, they've got the excitement levels built up, they just couldn't do it, weren't allowed to in this country. And so now that restrictions are being lifted, albeit slowly, but at least showrooms are allowed to reopen now, that demand has come back. According to Electric Vehicles Research, while the search volume for the phrase electric car is down on Google Trends, hasn't returned to pre-COVID levels yet, every indication that it's on its way back up and will do so. Specifically, Model S and Model X, both seeing a strong recovery in terms of how often that is searched for, matching, even exceeding the interest from this time last year. Demand for the BMW i3 has returned to pre-COVID levels, and the Audi e-tron has exceeded pre-COVID levels. A strong recovery, considering that demand fell off the cliff. From the 8th of March to the 22nd of March, down 70%. The Road to Recovery dashboard for EVs, by the way, is what I'm talking about here. I'll pop a link in the show notes if you want to see for yourself. It will continue to be updated on a week-by-week basis to track the progress of the automotive industry's recovery post-COVID. Well, a flood of Chinese EVs is coming in, and they're coming into Europe, and they're coming ashore in Norway, one of the biggest markets for battery-powered vehicles in Europe. It's a sign of a ferocious competition awaiting the Chinese automakers and the car makers wanting to sell cars here in Europe. It says Automotive News Europe, tighter emissions regulations across the Union have prodded automakers to lean into the transition to EVs, and if they don't, they'll face big fines this year. To further spur on EV sales, the governments of France and Germany have included more incentives in the last couple of weeks for the purchase of EVs in stimulus packages post-virus. While the arrival of Chinese brands in Europe is a recent phenomenon, and they're converging on the Nordic market of Norway at it's a tricky time actually for European car makers. The British brand MG Motor, but owned by the Chinese these days, SAIC is the owner of MG. They just sold 600 ZS EVs in Norway, and a number of other companies are preparing to enter and sell their cars to begin with in Norway, then they'll expand throughout Europe, according to the Norwegian Automobile Federation. The BYD Tang is coming soon. A Chinese EV maker, of course, backed by Warren Buffett. Polestar, which is the venture between Volvo and Geely. Alibaba-backed XPeng Motors is planning to start sales soon in Norway. iWays, the U5 model coming to Norway. Byton is a 2021 launch of the M-Byte crossover, and BAIC last year saying that they want the Arc Fox electric brand launched in Europe. So really interesting stuff, really interesting times, and we'll see. A lot of these Chinese cars are well made now, and better made than many people think. Very connected cars at a good price. But would you on the item that you spend, for most people, the second biggest outlay behind your home that you buy. Risk it on something where there's maybe not a dealer network, or you're buying it online and hoping you can get it serviced. Lots of questions that apply to some of those brands that I've just mentioned. Let me know. And let me know what you think of this week's question of the week. I'll read it out on the Sunday show. How far a plug-in hybrid needs to go on EV power alone? My address is hello@evnewsdaily.com, or leave a comment on the YouTube show. Well, thank you to 231 patrons of the podcast for funding this show, and if you would like to know what it's all about, have a look at Patreon by all means, patreon.com/evnewsdaily. 807 previous shows in the archive, again that's paid for by Patreon, so you can get any of the, I don't know why you'd want to, but I guess people do research or listen back. The blog is evnewsdaily.com, and if you can leave a little review on Apple Podcasts, if you can ever do that anytime, write a few words, hit submit, it really helps me grow the show. Premium partners of the show are Phil Roberts of Electric Future, Brad Crosby, Avid Technology, Brightsmith Group for Clean Tech Talent, Porsche of the Village Cincinnati, Audi of Cincinnati East, Volvo Cars of Cincinnati East, and now nationalcarcharging.com and allohacharge.com. If you want to say hi on socials, search EV News Daily and you'll find me. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow. And remember, there is no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.